Started here real quick to kind of start things off. And welcome. We actually almost have a full committee today. That's awesome. So to start things off today, we're going to actually start for some bill introductions. Do we have any bill introductions today? And seeing none, we're going to move right on in. So I'd like to welcome Stephen Durrell today. He's Executive Director of the Lottery, and he's going to give his presentation today. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to the committee. Pleasure to see you all again this year. I have about 8 pages of testimony. I'm going to read it word for word. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to try to highlight it if you have any questions along the way. Try to just shout out, but it's all pretty self-explanatory. I'll just try to give you the highlights. Starting at the beginning, as a reminder, there are 3 elements, 3 silos of revenue that the lottery is responsible for. We have traditional lottery, which is, of course, scratch tickets and Powerball and those sorts of things. And now we have expanded lottery, which are the casinos. And then now on top of that, we have sports wagering. So we have 3 different silos. We'll go through each one of them. And unfortunately, that makes our report get longer each year, unfortunately for you guys. Let's see. Let's start with the traditional lottery, which is scratch tickets and Powerball and that sort of thing. Net sales for traditional lottery for fiscal year 2023 totaled approximately $338 million. Compared to $312 million in fiscal year 22, that was the lottery's highest sales total ever. Which passes our previous record of from 2021. We had over $1 billion jackpots last year in Powerball and Mega Millions combined. That's a lot, and people really are interested in those numbers when they get that high. Instant ticket sales, which are our scratch tickets, were $203 million roughly in 2023, which is a slight decrease of about 1.6% compared to $207 million in fiscal year 22. Again, what we're finding in the nationwide trend is that people, as those jackpots get higher, tend to spend their $1 or $2 that they would ordinarily spend on a scratch ticket investing in Powerball or Mega Millions games. Total combined sales for all draw games in fiscal year 23 was $134.5 million compared to $106 million in fiscal 22. Let's see now, combined sales for obviously as I just mentioned, those are in part due to the large jackpot games. Combined sales of Mega Millions and Powerball were $76.6 million in fiscal year 23. Which is a huge increase of about almost 25 million from the previous year. And again, that's due in part to the large jackpots. In fiscal year 23, the lottery paid out more than $205 million in prizes to lottery players and retailer commissions of almost $20 million. Since the lottery began in the late 80s, there's been nearly a net sales of $7.5 billion. Nearly $4.2 billion has been won by players. More than $431 million has been paid to lottery retailers, and more than $2 billion in transfers to the state. One of the things that we like to single out as a part of our traditional lottery program is, of course, our vending machines, because our vending machines have very specific places that the money goes to from those machines. Currently, we're looking at about 350 machines across the state. In fiscal year 20, they generated, when they first came in online, they generated about $6.4 million in sales, with $1.7 million being transferred to support mental health programs. In 21, it was up to $18.7 million, 5.5 to mental health. In 22, it was up to $24.6 million, and transfers were $7.4 million to mental health. And in 23, we were up to $36 million, and transfers increased to $9 million. Through the first 6 months of fiscal year 24, we are at $22.3 million, and that's resulted in more than $7.3 million in transfers to mental health programs. We do have an additional 70 machines that we ordered all the way back in fiscal year 21. It took a while during the pandemic and other things for supply chains to be filled. So we finally have those machines in. Then, of course, as we got them in just in sort of the fall of and calendar year 23, we hit the holiday season. And of course, a lot of retailers don't want you monkeying around in their stores while you're trying to replace machines or bring in new things during the time that they're trying to hit their peak of holiday sales. Moving on, let's see here. Specifically, transfers for fiscal year 23, the lottery's total contribution to state gaming revenues, veterans programs, and mental health programs totaled $85.8 million. You can see, I won't go through them, how much of the Economic Development Fund, Juvenile Detention Facilities Fund, Correctional Institutions Fund, et cetera, received from that $85 million. One of the things that we're pretty proud of is, of course, that $1.26 million of that money went to veterans programs, which brings the total amount to veterans programs the lottery's contributed since the program began to $23.7 million, and that program began in 2003. Transfer supports National Guard Education Assistance Act scholarships, veterans homes and cemeteries, and veterans enhanced delivery programs. Additionally, the state of Kansas collected $3.3 million in state income taxes off of the prizes that were paid to lottery players. Lottery prize winners also paid almost $287,000 through the debt set-off program administered by the Department of Administration. The Department of Administration also does set-off programs through the casino gaming now, and through casino gaming, they received almost $2.7 million, a little over $2.7 million through set-offs. One of the things we like to highlight through our traditional lottery is, of course, our Play On program, which is our player loyalty club program that began in 2017. As of 2023, there are more than 285,000 Play On members, and most of them are very active. We have a very active Play On program, player loyalty program that other states, I have to tell you, are very envious of. We have a high residual rate on people who come back and actually use the program. As a result, you can see that 100 million tickets have been entered or scanned by players since the program came online in 2017. They can enter tickets for winning and non-winning tickets into the program for points, and then they can use those points for other programs that they want to try to win. And so we've given away a number of different things. We give away suite spaces at KU and K-State for football games. We give away trips, et cetera, money. Anyway, in March of 2020, we added a ticket checker function, which is allowing our players to check whether their tickets are winners or non-winners right on their mobile device. It's been very popular. We were seriously demanded from our players that function for a really long time. In the calendar year of 2023, more than 21 million tickets have been checked through the app for the winning or non-winning status. We had, again, our millionaire raffle this last year, and we sold out of the 150,000 tickets that we had very early this year. It wasn't our earliest sellout, but I think it was our second earliest sellout. The $1 million prize number was announced on January 3rd, 2024. Across the state, we have a good relationship with our NBC station affiliates across the state. We announced it at noon on that day. And I don't believe anybody's come in to claim that yet. So we're all still waiting with bated breath for that. We always enjoy giving away the big checks to folks. We do a number of instant scratch tickets, obviously, per year. We launched 42 instant games during fiscal year 23. We continue to have our sports marketing partnerships, which have been very terrific and very popular with our players, with K-State, KU, the Chiefs, and NASCAR at Kansas Speedway. And we also then, of course, do collaborations in state with places like the Kansas State Fair. Moving on to fiscal year 24, the instant game category continues to perform well, worth nearly $95 million sales through the first 6 months. That's slightly down about 4% from the same period for last year. Again, we've had the high jackpots and things, but it's still the fourth highest sales years to date. In December of 23, we launched our first Premier Play ticket, which has a grand prize. It's our highest instant prize on a scratch ticket ever of $500,000. And we've already had one person claim that since December. So there are 3 more out there on the ticket itself and 1 more in a second chance prize. Total sales for draw games in fiscal year 24 were at $77.3 million. Let's see, that's across all games year to date. Year to date sales total $172.9 million, which is only about $3.9 million for the same period, behind from the same period of last year. And during that time period, we have transferred the traditional lottery $46.8 million to the state. Any questions thus far? Representative Burkham.
Very good. Thank you for that. Committee, I apologize for my tardiness. I do have my breath back after about 15 minutes of running up the stairs. But anyway, questions? Representative Bueller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On page 2, I'm looking at the transfers, and I'm curious where and I look at the sum total of that money. 42 million goes to the Economic Development Initiatives Fund. How can I understand how that money was dispersed or what that money was used for?
That would be Department of Revenue, or I think it's Department of Administration that goes to. Yeah, probably legislative research. It's one of those things that we earn it and give it to them, and where it goes is sort of up to another department. But we definitely can find, I'm sure legislative research can find it for you without much problem. So,
okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Jordan can help you out here. Go ahead, Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to offer to follow up and with our fiscal analyst in our department who keeps track of that money and see if we can send some information to Connie to distribute if that'd be okay with the chair.
That would be perfect. Very good. Representative Burkham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for being here.
Mm-hmm.
Who designed the Play On app? Was that in-house?
No, that is not in-house. That is done by one of our vendors. We have 3 vendors that are in the it's kind of an interesting tidbit that not many people know. There's only 3 companies in the entire world that print lottery tickets, and so we have relationships with all of them. One of those is the vendor that provided that, and that's Pollard.
Okay. Because I downloaded it last year and that was kind of clunky personally, and looking at the rating on the App Store, like it's one of the lower rated apps out there. So I don't know if you've had any feedback or any.
We had actually it just got upgraded. We just upgraded the app at the end of the year last year. It's a brand new app, and one of the things that I think that we've had issues with players not remembering how the app works. So there's a lot of times where they will not use the app for a long period of time. Their password will expire, and then they'll have to come back and try to fix it. And that becomes a confusing issue for them. So, but we're always aware of that as an issue for sure. We have an 800 number that folks can call pretty much day or night and try to get assistance with any app problems. So,
okay, thank you.
Sure.
Representative Haskins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your testimony. This is my first time here. Could you give me a little bit more information on the Play On members and how do I become a member, and what is with 285,000 members? Is that what we were expecting, or is it?
It's a pretty robust number, frankly. We've done pretty well, and that's after we've gone back and that's the actual number of actual users. We've gone through it a couple of times, and what we do cold members that either have more than one email address that they're using to try and build up more points, so they can use it sort of in an illicit manner. Try to increase the number of times they enter into a contest for different draws. It's very simple. You just have to download the app or go onto your computer, and it's just a very simple program. It's voluntary, it's free, and people use it all the time.
Representative Saunders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here this morning. Talk to us a little bit about the sports wagering. How are we coming as far as revenues? Are they at projection, above or below?
They're a little bit above. I'll get to that a little bit later in my testimony. That's an entire section we'll go through here in a few minutes. But I'll definitely cover that for sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Committee, further questions? Seeing none, continue on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moving on to the second silo of our work, that would be the casinos. During the first half of fiscal year 24, revenues have decreased by less than 1% compared to the same time period in fiscal year 23. These numbers are on pace with the fall 2023 consensus revenue estimates that we put together every year. You can see from the chart on the top of page 4 that all of the casinos except for Hollywood are down a little bit, but our total revenue is only down by about less than 1%. So we continue to do well. All the casinos continue to make a good living, so to speak, and so we're happy about that. casino transfers for fiscal year 23, the state of Kansas received $89.6 million cumulatively through the state since the casinos opened. This says $969.5 million, but I will tell you that we have just passed over $1 billion in transfers to the state from the casinos, our partners over in that realm. Problem Gaming and Addictions Fund received $8.1 million for the last fiscal year, and cumulatively since through 2023, they've received about $88 million for problem gaming and addictions, which is really a tremendous number. County and city, the local folks who are part of the Expanded Lottery Act received $12.2 million for fiscal year 23, and cumulatively they have received, since the casinos opened, roughly $132 million. The Southeast Gaming Zone, Crawford and Cherokee counties, the total gaming revenue for fiscal year 2023 was about $41 million. Southeast Gaming Zone, which is their Sumner and Sedgwick counties, total gaming facility revenue for fiscal year 23 was approximately $161.2 million. Northeast Gaming Zone for fiscal year 23 was roughly $156.5 million. In the Southwest Gaming Zone, which is of course our friends out in Ford County, fiscal year 23 was approximately $48.2 million. And I'm not going to go through the breakdown of each casino of where that money goes, just because you can see on the chart on pages 4 and 5 where the money is broken down to each one of those things. Before I go on to sports wagering, are there any questions so far?
Representative Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, as you know, we're going to, in all likelihood, be considering a bill to ban smoking on casinos floors this session. If that passes, do you have any projection how that might impact the casinos?
That's a very interesting question. The real question here, I think, is that well, to start, I think that there was a study done in Indiana several years ago where they'd made the decision to cut smoking off at the casinos, and I think that they lost in the first year 30% of their revenue. Right off the bat, and they immediately turned around and changed that and went back to allowing smoking on the casino floor. So it didn't last very long. I think the real question here, of course, is that any sort of smoking prohibition that you put on state-owned and operated casino gaming, if it's not going to apply to the tribal casinos that are the 4 of them that are in the state, it's not going to be worth much. So,
Representative Burkamp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there any data on like in-state versus out-of-state share of revenue? Like, is there any data on like how many people come from out-of-state to go to the casinos versus?
The casinos do keep track of that, or they at least try to, in sort of at least an informal manner. We can certainly get you that information. We don't track it as a regular course, but I know that the casinos do keep an eye on sort of what their traffic is from in and out of state. Certainly, we can find you some of that data if you need it.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know. Thank you.
Sure.
Steve, I have a couple of questions here, and I apologize. I didn't even ask my own questions.
That's certainly fine.
So
you're the chair. You get that privilege.
So the 70 machines that you were talking about that were ordered in 21, are they paid for? Were they paid for in 21?
Yes, they came out of pre-existing cash flow, so they are already paid for. Yes.
Okay. And then what happens on the $1 million if no one collects that?
Interestingly enough, all prizes that are not claimed go back into the state prize fund. So they go back and are allowed, or the monies are put back into a chance for folks to win it. Unfortunately, we just had last January, we had a Mega Millions winner, had $1 million Mega Millions winner in Southeast Kansas that did not claim. And so it expired just last week. So somebody did not claim $1 million winner and it expired. So It's unfortunate. So back in the prize fund it goes.
Wow. And then finally, so Illinois is the only state that you're aware of that did that?
Indiana, I believe.
Indiana.
Yeah.
So are there other states that have done?
Not that I'm aware of. I think that some other states are making it. They're experimenting with more non-smoking. I mean, a lot of it has to do with the consumer desire, frankly. There are certainly people that are interested in having non-smoking facilities in non-smoking areas within the facilities. They have some casinos have gone to a majority of the facility is non-smoking, and with a smaller percentage is smoking. Some people reverse it. It just depends on their player base, and so it just It just depends, and I'm not aware of any other state that's done it again across, from a total perspective. I don't know of anybody that has. But again, if to point out, unless this law is applicable to the tribal casinos, then all that possibly is going to happen is you're going to drive a percentage of the people that are at the state-owned and operated casinos to the tribal casinos. So,
Yeah, I find that number, quite frankly, shocking.
I do too. I mean, I think that this was probably, it's been a long time since they tried that. I do think that there is a very different, this is just my anecdotal sort of viewpoint. I do think that there is, right now, there's a difference in the age range of people that are interested in gaming, either whether it's traditional lottery, whether it's casino gaming, whether it's sports wagering. Each one of those players has a different sort of identified player base. And as sort of the population ages, there are differences of interest in the people that are coming up behind them. And certainly the people in the casino world are less interested in smoker or smoking areas. But again, that's based on what the players are interested in, or what the casinos, the reason that we hired them as the state was to make a determination as to what the players want. And so I think that we have to, pretty much ask them at this point what it is that they're interested in. So.
Very good. Thank you for that. Something to think about.
Certainly.
Continue on.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to expanded gaming, which is, of course, our sports wagering. In 2022, the legislature, as you all well know, passed Senate Bill 84, which is the Senate bill which allows for expanded lottery. Sports wagering operations began in September of 2022, which was ahead of schedule. We, if you remember, it passed in May of 2022, and we had it operational. All parties, Kansas Racing and Gaming Commission, the lottery, and the 4 casinos had, and the platforms had it up and running in about 3.5, almost 4 months. So we made the first season, or the first weekend of professional football, which put us ahead of where we thought we were going to be, which increased our numbers and our revenue for the first year pretty heavily. I'll remind you that sports wagering revenues, is defined by Senate Bill 84, are total wagers that were completed and settled minus voided wagers, federal excise taxes, free plays and promotional credits, and the amounts paid as prizes. Under Senate Bill 84, 90% of sports wagering revenues are paid to facility managers, and 10% is retained by the state. The state's share of revenues distributed as follows each July. The first $750,000 of each year is given to what was created then as the White Collar Crime Fund, which is, I'm not sure, since it's been created, what that money has been used for. Again, we created and it's sent out, and I don't know where it goes. I think it's originally it was designed in the first couple of the drafts of Senate Bill 84 to assist prosecutors in going after what were known as gray machines, machines that are not legal under the state definition. And those are some of the things that you'll see at different gas stations and truck stops and that sort of thing. Things that are very, sort of on the edge. That language got taken out, I think, and so now it's just a white collar crime unit in a general sense. So you'll have to, I don't know if that's been distributed yet or not. After that $750,000, 2% goes to the Problem Gaming and Addictions Fund. 80% goes to the newly created Attracting Professional Sports Teams to Kansas Fund, and then 18% of that, after that, goes to the remaining state gaming revenues fund, or the state general fund. Then you can read about how, on the bottom of page 6, how it's reported by the managers. Then we can move over to, on page 7, there is a chart of the distributions or the revenues earned in fiscal year 23. We have broken it out for you in-house wagering, meaning that each one of the casinos has the ability to offer a sports wagering, either lounge or area where people can go in and place wagers on sports there. Then, of course, we move on to the online wagering, which is all the different providers and the online applications that you see. And so, obviously, online is a much more profitable, and much more higher bet percentage. With about, but totally settled wagers in fiscal year 23 is $1.1 billion, revenues of about $63 million, and the state receives $6.3 million after that. So With that, that is my report at this point. We did not, I guess I should note, in fiscal year 23, the state share of sports wagering totaled $5.8 million and was distributed in July of 23. That was the year before, the last year. And then we have not received any sort of inquiries regarding sports racing tracks in the last year. So,
Very good. Thank you for that.
certainly.
Jordan, will you see if you can run down the information on that white collar crime fund for us?
Certainly, Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to check with our fiscal analyst on that as well. I believe it'd be the same person providing me that information, so I'll see if we can get a combo of that and the EDIF together for you.
Very good. Thank you. Committee questions? Representative Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what was the bottom line of the amount of money that went to the state general fund? Because there are all these earmarks of where else the money is going. So how many dollars went into the state general fund?
Well, as you can tell, I can tell you just off the top of my head. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, Matt will tell us directly. No, thank you. Let's see. The Problem Gaming Interdictions Fund received $102,000. As you know, a majority of that money goes to the Professional Sports Fund, and that about $4 million went to that. And the State General Fund got the remaining 18% for about $922,000.
Okay, so the state general fund netted less than $1 million.
Correct.
All right. Now, is there any kind of a sunset on attracting a sports team to Kansas, or is that just going to go until we get the Chiefs?
There is no sunset on it that I'm aware of, and it is in my understanding to go perpetually for the remainder of the time that sports wagering is in Kansas.
Is there any professional sports team on the horizon that has shown any interest in coming to Kansas?
I can tell you that if there is, they have. I think the lottery would probably be the last group they would call first. So I don't know. Is my short answer to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Committee, further questions? Representative Burkham.
Thank you. I should know the answer to this, but if a sports book loses money, is the state held harmless in that case?
We do not pay into losses.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I should clarify. We don't earn any money either. I mean, but it's not like it's a zero sum, but it's not coming out of the state coffers to pay lost wagers. No.
Committee, further questions? Okay, seeing none.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Sanders.
Thought of something else. So can you explain to us how the state is going about attempting to attract a professional sports team? What are we doing?
That again is not our bailiwick. I'm afraid that's a question that some other group would have to be probably. I'm not even going to venture a guess who's responsible for that.
But is that $4 million being spent?
I don't know. I don't know where that money is again.
And I realize that probably isn't in your area, but you're here, and I thought I'd ask.
No, I understand.
So thank you
certainly,
for indulging me.
Trust me, that's not the oddest question I've ever gotten from a legislative body. It's one of those incidences where a lot of the stuff, as you can tell, is earmarked for certain things. And once we earn it and distribute it and send it out, what happens to it after that is we don't have a lot of control or knowledge of.
So, Mr. Chairman, I just asked the committee, does anybody know who's working on that?
Representative Clayton has a response.
Oh, it's me. No, it's not me. It's that would be a question for the Commerce Department. So that came up in the Commerce Committee a little bit yesterday for discussion. So you can go back and review the proceedings there or reach out to the legislative liaison from the Commerce Department.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think, Jordan, your list is growing. So he'll get back with us on that. So Representative Howe.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make sure, is Jordan going to supply the information about all the transfer funds to all of us? Because I would like to see them all, if that would be okay.
Jordan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I'll check with our fiscal staff to get a write-up of where these funds are being transferred. Right now, I had a list of the EDIF fund, the Attracting Sports Fund, and the White Collar Crime Fund. But it sounds like there might be some interest in all of those transfers that are made from the lottery then outside of what goes to the SGF. So I'll go ahead and see if I can get a write-up on those, if that sounds like what the committee is looking
I
for.
think that's what the committee's looking for. So very
Okay.
good. Thank you for that. Committee, further questions? Okay. Thank you, Steve, for being here. Appreciate it. Committee, no meeting tomorrow. We will meet next Tuesday. So with that, and again, I apologize for being late. No Monday. So Tuesday we'll be here. So with that, we're adjourned.